Do we live in a completely deterministic universe? Was there the Big Bang and everything that follows from it has been determined since that initial moment? Or were we created by a divinity and we each have a purpose and our life's work is discovering what that purpose is? Or do we live in a universe where we don't know what the meaning is, or possibly there's no meaning? That's where existentialism gets its footing. Existentialism is a philosophy that says we live in a meaningless universe. We were thrown here, we woke up, we were born, we had certain facts of our existence, our family, our language, our bodies, our communities, our culture. We didn't choose any of these things. We simply found ourselves here. And now the question is, what do we do with that? Is it possible to live in a meaningless universe and still somehow not only find meaning, but create meaning? So existentialism appears everywhere. You'll see it in YouTube videos, you'll see it in Instagram, you'll see it in TikTok, because oftentimes people like to talk about this idea of authenticity. What does it mean to live an authentic life? And that is actually at the heart of existential philosophy. But it's not the kind of philosophy that you can fit into a short TikTok video, because it's actually a philosophy that requires tremendous self-reflection. Because not only does existentialism believe that we have been thrown here and we have certain facts of our existence, it also maintains that we are free. And if we are free, then we are also responsible. So if we are free and we're responsible, and yet there's no predetermined meaning or essence to who we are or what we do, that means we have the ability to look at our lives as a kind of aesthetic, artistic project. So these facts of our birth, of our bodies, of our cultures and our communities, those are like the materials that an artist would use, whether that be stone or paint or words. And none of those things that an artist would employ in the creation of a work of art are necessarily going to determine the final product. In fact, when you start with these components, you actually have infinite variety for how to create a work of art. Existentialists think that a life is just like a work of art. We take these beginning components and we, through time, develop who it is that we want to be. Who is it that we want to consistently become? And we never reach that plateau. Instead, we are constantly creating ourselves. And so it is free, and it does require that we take responsibility for it, but that doesn't make it easy. In fact, it's very difficult, because another component to existentialism is that we often find ourselves in bad faith. Bad faith is when we lie to ourselves, when we tell ourselves that actually, I have to be this way because of my family or my community. I have to be this way because this is just the limitations of my body. I have no choice but to continue my life as it's going. But that's not true. If you're an existentialist, you realize that you do have a choice. And so it can be a little exhausting. You have to consistently choose the person that you want to become. So you see this in all kinds of different existential philosophers. So the philosopher Søren Kierkegaard talked about the leap of faith, which is an immediate relationship that the individual has to take with God. There's nothing that can provide the meaning for that. You simply have to leap. Or Jean-Paul Sartre would talk about the fact that existence precedes essence, meaning you don't have a human nature. You have to create that human nature with each choice that you make. Or the philosopher Simone de Beauvoir famously said, one is not born, but rather becomes a woman. Meaning, just because you're born with a certain body doesn't stick you with a particular essence. That is something that is a part of a cultural and individual process. And so, while it is beautiful, while it allows us a certain degree of freedom, it also is a little terrifying, and it can cause tremendous anxiety because there is no fallback. But that's what those of us who teach existentialism, and who might be a little bit of existentialists at heart, think is the most beautiful thing about the philosophy. So one thing you might hear a lot about are existential crises, which means when we face, what are we supposed to do now? One of the things that we're facing that might cause an existential crisis is artificial intelligence. So if you want to hear about the ethics and the practice of using artificial intelligence, watch my video on it.